Now, you're about to take a journey through time. There's nothing you need to do, nothing you need to force. Just allow your body to rest. Let yourself sink gently into where you are. If you'd like, you can slowly close your eyes and let everything around you fade into the background. Take a slow breath in and let it out. Feel your shoulders soften, your body becoming heavier, calmer. In a moment, you will find yourself in another time, a distant place, far from the world you know. All I ask is that you let go and allow yourself to drift. And if you enjoy these kinds of slow, immersive journeys, you can consider subscribing to the channel so you can return here whenever you need to rest. Now, gently, you begin to move. When your awareness returns, you are no longer where you once were. There are no familiar sounds, no distant hum of a modern world, only silence. You find yourself inside a small stone room. The walls around you are rough, uneven, formed by heavy blocks of aged stone. Time has left its mark here. Small cracks, worn edges, surfaces that have stood still for years beyond counting. The air feels cool, not fresh, but still grounded. There's a faint scent, something like damp stone, mixed with the quiet presence of a place long untouched. In one corner of the room, a single candle burns. This flame moves gently, never fully still, flickering, as if reacting to a soft current in the air. The light it casts is weak. It doesn't fill the space. Instead, it reveals only fragments, parts of the wall, the edge of the floor, while the rest fades into shadow. Deep, quiet shadows, the kind that don't threaten, but simply exist. And slowly, you begin to notice something else. You are not just seeing this place. You are inside it. You are here. There is weight in your body, a steady pressure resting across your shoulders, around your chest, not painful, but impossible to ignore. You look down slowly, and you see it. Armor, dark worn, marked by time and use. It's not polished, not meant to shine. Feels real, solid, dependable. As you shift slightly, you hear a sound, a soft movement of metal, quiet but clear. It breaks the silence for just a moment, before everything returns to stillness again. Your hands move, covered in leather gloves. The material feels firm, slightly worn. Your fingers respond, a little slower than you expect, as if they're adjusting or remembering. You take a breath. The air enters slowly, cool against your chest. The armor moves with you, just enough to remind you of its presence. But it doesn't resist, follows, as if it belongs. You pause, listening. There it is again, the faint sound of wind. Somewhere beyond these walls, it slips through unseen gaps, whispering softly. Nothing else follows. No voices, no footsteps, only the quiet breath of the night. Your gaze shifts across the room. There, resting against the wall, the sword, simple in design, but strong, unmoving, waiting. Beside it, a shield, the surface worn, marked by use. The details are faded, almost lost, but not completely. And without needing to think, you understand. These are yours, not because you were told, but because it feels true. You rise slowly. Your body adjusts with care. The weight of the armor becomes clearer now, not heavy in a burdensome way, but present, grounding. Your feet meet the stone floor, cold. That cold moves upward, anchoring you deeper into this moment. You take a step, then another, each movement measured, each sound soft, returning gently through the room. Even this small space echoes your presence. You turn toward the door, thick wood reinforced with iron, closed, still, but not completely silent. Beyond it, there is something, not loud, not clear, but there, a world waiting, just outside your reach. You stand for a moment, doing nothing. There's a feeling within you, not fear, not peace, something quieter, attention, resting beneath the surface, as if something is approaching. Not now, but soon, very soon. You don't need to understand it. You can simply feel it. The candle flickers again. Your shadow shifts along the wall, stretching, bending. For a brief moment, feels unfamiliar, like it belongs to someone else. But then, it settles, and you recognize it again. It is you. You take another slow breath, the weight in your chest. Steady, no longer distracting, just part of you. You move back, and sit down once more. The stone beneath you is firm, unyielding, yet familiar. Time begins to soften. Your thoughts, quieter now, less defined. There is nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to go. You are already here, in this room, in this night, and tomorrow, everything will change. But not yet, not now, now. There is only stillness, only the quiet rhythm of your breath, the soft glow of a flickering candle, and you, resting within it. At some point, without you fully noticing when, the darkness begins to fade. Not suddenly, but slowly. The candle in the corner burns lower now, its light weaker than before, and something else replaces it, a faint gray light, seeping in from somewhere beyond the walls. Morning is coming. You don't move right away. You remain where you are, breathing slowly, listening. The silence of the night has changed. It's no longer complete. There are new sounds now, distant, subtle, the quiet shifting of movement outside, a footstep somewhere far away, the low murmur of voices, too distant to understand. The world beyond this room is waking up, and with it, so are you. You take a deeper breath. The air feels slightly different, cool, but no longer heavy. There is a sense of motion now, even if you are still. You open your eyes fully. The shadows in the room have softened. The walls are clearer now, less hidden, more defined. The candle flickers one last time, then steadies. You slowly lean forward, placing your weight onto your feet, and stand. This time, the movement feels easier, more familiar. The armor shifts with you, this weight no longer surprising. Instead, it settles into place, as if your body remembers it. You adjust slightly, rolling your shoulders, feeling the structure around you. There is strength in it, not just weight. Your gaze moves again to the sword, still resting, unchanged, waiting. You take a step toward it, each movement deliberate, calm.
No urgency, no rush.
Your hand reaches out. The moment your fingers close around the hilt, something feels complete. The grip is firm, balanced, fits your hand naturally, as if it has always been there. You lift it slightly, not to test it, but simply to feel it. The weight is real, grounded. You lower it again, keeping it close. The shield follows, strapped to your arm with practiced ease.
No hesitation, no confusión.
Only quiet familiarity. You turn toward the door once more. Stands the same, closed solid. But now, you can hear more clearly. Voices, closer than before. Footsteps passing. Metal lightly striking metal. Others are moving. Others like you. You pause for just a moment, not out of doubt, but awareness. The stillness is ending. Slowly, you reach for the door. Your hand rests against the rough wood, cold, solid. You push. The door opens with a low sound, not loud, but deep, and beyond it, the world expands. A stone corridor stretches out ahead, lit by the pale light of early morning. The air feels wider here, less confined. You step forward, out of the room. Your footsteps echo softly along the stone floor, and now, you are no longer alone. Figures move through the corridor. Men in armor, some walking slowly, others adjusting their gear. No one rushes. No one speaks loudly. There is a shared understanding, a quiet purpose. You pass by them, not stopping, not needing to. There are no introductions here.
No explanations.
Each of you knows why you are here. The corridor opens into a wider space. An inner courtyard. The sky above is pale, touched with the first light of day, soft gray, hinting at something brighter beyond. The air carries a chill, fresh, sharp against your face. You can hear it more clearly now. The movement of many, armor shifting, horses breathing, their hooves pressing against the ground. You step further into the courtyard and take it in. Rows of men, some mounted, others standing beside their horses, checking straps, tightening belts, adjusting blades.
No chaos. No shouting.
Just preparation. Calm. Steady. Inevitable. You walk slowly among them, your pace unbroken. No one stops you. No one questions you. You are part of this, as natural as the morning itself. A horse stands nearby, dark-coated, strong, steady, its breath visible in the cool air. It shifts slightly as you approach. Not restless, but aware. You reach out, your hand resting gently against its side. Warm, alive, a quiet exchange. Without words, you take hold of the reins, and in one smooth motion, you mount. The movement feels known, practiced, effortless. From this height, the space opens further. You can see beyond the courtyard now, the outer walls, the distant land, still covered in the soft light of early morning. For a moment, everything holds still. No command has been given yet, no signal, just a quiet pause, as if the world itself is waiting. You breathe in, slowly, deeply. There is no turning back, not because you are forced, but because you are already on the path. And without needing words, without needing instruction, you understand, this is the beginning. The stillness doesn't last forever. First, nothing seems to change. You remain there, sitting atop your horse, breathing slowly, watching the quiet movement around you, and then, without a clear signal, without a loud command, it begins. A subtle shift. One rider ahead of you moves, then another. The sound is soft at first, leather tightening, metal brushing lightly against metal, hooves pressing into the ground. Not rushed, not chaotic, just movement. You feel it before you fully react to it. The moment has come, not announced, but understood. Your hands adjust slightly on the reins. The horse beneath you responds, not with resistance, but with quiet readiness. You don't need to force it. It already knows. Slowly, you begin to move forward. Step by step, the courtyard opens, and the line of riders stretches ahead. You follow, without hesitation. The stone beneath you fades, replaced by packed earth. The sound changes, softer now, more grounded. Behind you, the walls remain, unmoving,
Familiar.
but you don't look back. There's no reason to. Your attention stays ahead. The gate stands open, large, heavy, but no longer a barrier. As you pass through it, the space changes again. The air feels wider, less contained. There is more light now. The sky, slowly brightening, a pale glow spreading across the horizon. You ride forward, alongside others. No one speaks. There are no words exchanged, only the shared rhythm of movement, the slow, steady cadence of hooves. Time begins to stretch. Moments blend into one another. The structure of the place behind you fades, replaced by open land, fields, uneven ground, paths that seem worn by countless steps before yours. The morning air brushes against your face, cool, but alive. You take a slow breath. Feels different out here. Lighter, less confined. And yet, there is something else beneath it. Something quiet, unspoken. You continue forward, the line of riders moving as one. Not perfectly aligned, but connected. There is no urgency, no rush to reach anything, only the certainty of direction. The sun begins to rise higher, soft light turning warmer, shadows shifting along the ground. Your body adjusts with the movement, the rhythm of the horse becoming familiar, almost effortless. You don't think about each motion anymore. It happens on its own. Quiet balance between you and the path ahead. Time passes. You don't measure it. You don't need to. The world unfolds slowly around you. Occasionally, you notice small details. The way the wind moves through the grass, the distant outline of trees, the faint sound of birds somewhere above. All of it subtle, none of it demanding your attention. And yet, you are aware of it all. There is a calmness here, not the stillness of the room before, but something wider, more open, a moving silence. The riders continue, some slightly ahead, others falling just behind, but no one breaks away, no one stops. You are part of this flow, carried within it, without resistance. At some point, you realize the place you came from, the stone walls, the quiet room, the flickering candle, it already feels distant, not gone, but no longer close. What lies ahead is not yet clear. The land stretches forward, unchanged, endless, and still, you continue. There is no need to question it, no need to rush toward answers. For now, there is only the journey, the steady movement, the quiet rhythm, and you, moving forward within it. Time no longer feels like something you can measure. The further you move away from where you began, the more the world starts to lose its edges. The road is no longer clearly defined. Sometimes it is firm ground, sometimes loose soil, sometimes nothing but grass flattened by those who came before. But you keep moving, not because you are chasing something, but because stopping does not feel natural anymore. The line of riders continues forward, spreading slightly across the land, yet still holding together, a quiet formation without orders. The sound of hooves has become constant now, not loud, not distracting, just present, like a second heartbeat beneath everything else. The sun rises higher, and with it, the land begins to reveal itself more clearly. Fields stretch further than before. Small clusters of trees appear in the distance, then fade behind you. Occasionally, you pass something that reminds you of life outside this journey. A small settlement far away, smoke rising slowly into the sky, but no one turns toward it. No one stops. It is simply something that exists, and then disappears behind you. You continue forward. The horse beneath you moves with steady endurance, its breath visible in the changing air. You notice the rhythm between you and it now. Not command, not control, something quieter, shared motion. Hours pass, or maybe less, or more. It becomes difficult to tell. The sky shifts slowly above you, light becoming sharper, then softer again, as clouds pass without urgency. At some point, the group slows slightly, not stopping, just adjusting, a natural response to the terrain ahead. The land begins to rise gently, not mountains yet, but no longer flat. Small inclines appear beneath the path. Your body adjusts without thought, weight shifting, balance correcting. Everything becomes mechanical in a calm way. There is no need to think about it. It happens on its own. And somewhere in this long silence, your mind begins to drift, not asleep, not fully awake either, just present. Fragments of thought appear, then fade. The stone room, the candle, the weight of armor in a quiet night. It all feels distant now, not gone, but no longer sharp. Ahead, the line of riders continues, unbroken, unquestioning. The world around you remains open, wide, endless, and still you move forward within it, without needing to know where it leads. The terrain changes again. Slowly, almost unnoticeably at first, what was once open fields begins to thin out. The grass becomes shorter, the ground firmer, more uneven. Small stones start appearing beneath the path. At times the sound of hooves shifts slightly, sharper against the earth, then softer again. But the rhythm never breaks. You keep moving, as if the movement itself is no longer a choice. The riders ahead of you remain in sight, not close enough to speak to, not far enough to feel lost, just present, a moving line across a widening world. The sun has shifted higher now, not bright enough to overwhelm, but steady enough to define everything clearly. Shadows are shorter, the air warmer, yet still carrying a faint chill whenever the wind passes through. Time continues to dissolve. There is no longer a sense of morning or midday, only motion, and the passing of the land beneath it. At some point, the path bends slightly, and the formation adjusts without command. A silent agreement among those riding. No words,
No signals.
The ground begins to slope gently upward again. Not steep, but persistent. You feel it in the horse's movement. Slightly heavier breaths. Slower steps. More effort hidden beneath the calm exterior. Still, it does not resist. Continues, as do you. The landscape opens briefly, and for a moment, the distance becomes visible. Far ahead, the land rises into a broader horizon. Not a destination, not yet, just a direction, a suggestion of what lies beyond what you can currently see. No one reacts to it. No one points. It is simply there, and then it becomes part of the journey again. As you continue, the silence between riders deepens. Not uncomfortable, just settled. Even the small sounds begin to feel distant now. Leather shifting, armor lightly brushing, the soft impact of hooves. Everything blends into a single continuous presence. You begin to notice your own thoughts less, not because they are gone, but because they no longer demand attention. They drift in and out. Like the wind, occasionally something surfaces, a memory of stone walls, a flicker of candlelight, then it fades again, replaced by the steady forward motion. The land ahead remains unchanged in its openness, and yet it never feels empty. There is always something ahead, even when nothing new appears. The journey itself becomes the only constant thing you can recognize, and so you continue, not toward anything clearly defined, but within the movement itself. Not in a sudden way, but in small details that slowly accumulate. The soil becomes harder, more compact. The occasional grass disappears almost entirely, replaced by dry earth and scattered stone. The sound of movement changes with it. Hooves no longer sink slightly into soft ground. Now they strike with a cleaner, sharper rhythm. More defined, more present. You notice it without needing to focus on it. Everything around you is becoming more structured, more exposed. The open land that stretched endlessly before now feels subtly narrower, not physically confined, but visually, as if the horizon itself has tightened its distance. The riders continue forward, but the spacing between them adjusts again, naturally without instruction, slightly closer now, slightly more aware of each other's presence. The silence remains, but it feels different, not lighter, not heavier, just more attentive, as if something in the environment has changed enough to demand a quiet awareness from everyone. You look ahead, and the path begins to rise more clearly now, a gradual incline, stretching forward without revealing what lies beyond its top. No one slows, no one hesitates. The movement continues with the same steady discipline. But something in the air shifts as you ascend. The wind becomes more noticeable here, not stronger, just clearer. It moves across the line of riders, brushing through cloaks, armor, leather, a constant presence now, accompanying the ascent. You take a slow breath. The air feels slightly thinner, cooler, and in that difference, there is a subtle awareness forming. Not fear, not anticipation, something quieter, a kind of focus that does not need to be named. The horse beneath you adjusts its pace slightly, still steady, but more deliberate now, each step placed with care on the rising ground. You allow it. There is no need to correct it. Everything continues as it should. And as the group moves higher, the landscape behind begins to fall away, not disappearing, but becoming distant, smaller, less immediate. The world you came from earlier in the journey now feels far enough that it no longer presses against your thoughts. Ahead, the incline continues, and with it, the sense that something unseen is waiting just beyond what you can currently see. No one speaks of it, no one breaks formation, but the shared silence carries a different weight now, a quiet awareness that the path is no longer simply travel. It is approaching something unknown, and still, you move forward. The incline continues for a long while. There is no clear sense of when the climb began to feel like more than just terrain. Only the gradual realization that the world behind you has disappeared from immediate thought entirely. All that exists now is the path, and the rising ground beneath it. The riders maintain their formation, but something subtle has changed in their presence. Not in movement, but in awareness. Heads are held slightly higher now, eyes fixed further ahead. The silence between them feels more deliberate, as if everyone has quietly agreed not to acknowledge what they are beginning to sense. The air continues to shift as you rise, cooler, thinner, carrying a faint dryness that wasn't there before. Even the sound of hooves feels different now, more precise, less forgiving. Every step leaves a clearer impression on the ground. The landscape ahead still refuses to reveal itself fully. The top of the incline remains just beyond sight, not hidden, but delayed, like the world is holding its breath at the edge of showing what comes next. You feel the horse beneath you steady itself again. Its movement remains controlled, but more attentive, as if it, too, recognizes the change in the environment. You do not question it. You simply continue, and then, slowly, the slope begins to level, not abruptly, but in a gradual easing of resistance beneath you. The upward pressure fades, replaced by a flatter surface that stretches forward beyond the crest. The riders do not stop, but there is a slight tightening in the formation, a quiet alignment, the kind that happens without instruction when something ahead requires attention. You reach the top, and the world opens, not in a dramatic reveal, but in a slow expansion of space and distance. Beyond the ridge, the land extends outward again, but it is different from what you left behind. Less open in feeling, more structured in its emptiness. Distant shapes appear along the horizon, not yet distinct enough to define, but present enough to be noticed. No one speaks, no one points. The entire formation continues forward just enough to see more clearly. And in that silence, the realization settles in. This is no longer simply travel. The journey has reached a point where something ahead is waiting to be met. Not yet visible, not yet understood, but no longer distant enough to ignore. And still, without breaking rhythm, you move forward. The formation moves forward from the ridge, slowly at first, as if the land itself is being entered more carefully now. The ground here is flatter again, but it does not feel like the same openness from earlier. There is a density to the space, not physical, but perceptible, like the air carries more weight in silence. The distant shapes on the horizon begin to separate slightly as you advance. Still unclear, still undefined, but no longer just a blur. They exist now as presence, not imagination. The riders remain quiet, but the silence is no longer empty, feels occupied. Every sound becomes more noticeable again. A shift of armor, a breath taken slightly deeper, the faint creak of leather as someone adjusts their posture. You realize without needing to be told, everyone is paying attention now, not in panic, not in urgency, but in readiness. The horse beneath you slows its rhythm slightly, not resisting, just responding to the atmosphere around it. You let it happen. Your eyes stay forward. The shapes ahead begin to resolve a little more. Structures, not natural formations. Something built, something that does not belong to the landscape itself. The formation does not break, but the spacing tightens again. Subtle, instinctive. No commands are given. None are needed. The world has begun to speak on its own, and everyone is listening. The wind passes through once more, but it feels different here. Less like movement, more like passage, as if it travels through something already waiting for it. The light above shifts slightly, clouds moving slowly across the sky, softening and sharpening the view in alternating moments. Each change reveals a little more, then hides it again, like the land is deciding how much to show at once. You continue forward, step by step. The distance closes gradually, and the shapes ahead become clearer, not fully defined yet, but no longer abstract. There is structure, geometry, intent, and with that realization, the silence deepens further, not because sound has disappeared, but because it is no longer the focus of anything. Everything now is directed forward, and still, no one speaks. The movement continues, unbroken,
Unchanged in pace.
but entirely changed in meaning. You are closer now, close enough that the unknown is no longer distant, only waiting. The riders slow again, not as a command, but as a collective understanding that distance has finally become something measurable. The structures ahead are now clearly visible, not fully revealed in detail, but unmistakable in form. Stonework, dark silhouettes rising from the earth in organized lines. Not natural, not accidental, purpose-built. The air feels different here, still, but charged with something you cannot name directly. Even the wind seems to hesitate before passing through the space. The formation does not stop, but it compresses slightly, the riders drawing closer together without a spoken word. Your horse's pace shortens, each step more deliberate than the last. You allow it. There is no need to push forward blindly now. Every movement feels like it carries weight beyond itself. The distance between you and the structures continues to shrink, and with each step, details begin to emerge. Edges of walls, fragments of towers, openings that suggest gates or passageways, but nothing fully complete yet, only enough to understand that this place was built with intention, not abandoned, not forgotten, present. The silence among the riders has changed again. It is no longer just observation. It is calculation, awareness, preparation without announcement. You notice small actions now, hands tightening slightly on reins, fingers adjusting grip on weapons, postures becoming more aligned, not tense, but ready. The horse beneath you exhales slowly, its rhythm steady, but its attention clearly forward now. And then, as you move further, the first clear boundary becomes visible, a change in the terrain, a subtle transition where open ground begins to give way to constructed space. Stone meeting earth in a defined line, a threshold. The formation does not cross it immediately. It simply approaches, and holds. For a moment, everything pauses within movement itself. No one speaks, no one signals, but the entire group understands the same thing at once. This is no longer travel. This is arrival at something that must be met carefully. The air feels stiller now, heavier in its stillness, and just beyond that boundary, the structures wait, not hidden anymore, not distant, just ahead. The formation holds just before the boundary, not by order, but by instinct shared across everyone present. The ground here is no longer natural soil in the same way as before. It shifts into a more controlled surface, firmer, smoothed in places where passage has clearly happened many times before. The structures ahead now fill more of your vision, not as scattered shapes, but as connected form, walls extending outward, sections rising at different heights, openings that suggest controlled access rather than random passage. Nothing about it feels chaotic. Everything feels placed, intentional. The silence among the riders deepens further. No one moves, until one does. It is not a command, not a signal, just a single shift in presence that breaks the stillness without breaking the silence. A rider ahead of you leans forward slightly. The horse responds immediately, and with that single motion, the boundary is crossed. Nothing explodes. Nothing announces itself, but everything changes anyway. You follow, not because you are told to, but because the line has already been crossed and there is no longer a before to remain in. The ground beneath your horse feels different the moment you pass it, not in texture alone, but in meaning. It is still earth, still stone, but now it feels organized, controlled, as if even the ground has been arranged rather than simply formed. The structures that were once distant are now surrounding presence. Walls are no longer shapes ahead. They are edges guiding movement. Passages open where there is intention for passage. Nothing is random here. Everything directs without speaking. The formation does not scatter after crossing. Compresses, not into chaos, but into purpose. Spacing becomes tighter. Movement becomes quieter. Even breathing feels slightly more measured. You pass between two large stone segments. The light shifts immediately. The open sky is partially cut away by height and structure. Shadows deepen around you, but they are not empty shadows. They feel inhabited by design. The sound of hooves changes again. Now it echoes differently, contained, reverberating between constructed surfaces rather than open land. You realize something subtle. Outside felt like approach. This feels like entry. Ahead, the path continues inward. Not straight, not obvious, but guided, as if the space itself knows where you are meant to go. No one speaks. No one needs to. Even the riders closest to you seem focused inward now. Attention narrowed. Awareness sharpened. You continue forward, fully inside now, no longer approaching, no longer outside, and still, nothing. Nothing reveals what waits deeper in. Only structure, only passage, only continuation. The passage continues inward, but the sense of outside is now completely gone. What surrounds you is no longer landscape. It is architecture in motion. Walls rise on both sides of the route, tall enough that the sky becomes fragmented above you, cut into narrow strips of light that move slowly as you advance. The riders do not slow, but the rhythm has changed again. Not in speed, in attention. Everything feels narrower now, more directed, as if the space itself is guiding movement forward in a controlled flow. The sound of hooves is no longer open. It is layered now, each step bouncing softly between stone surfaces, returning slightly altered each time it reaches your ears. You notice details that were not visible before. Carved edges in the stone. Repetitive patterns that suggest order rather than decoration. Marks of use that are not random scratches, but intentional where paths formed by passage. You move deeper, and the light becomes less natural, not dark, but filtered, controlled. Every section you pass through changes it slightly, brighter in one corridor, dimmer in the next, as if the space itself is regulating what can be seen at any given moment. The formation remains intact, but now it is fully absorbed into the structure around it. No longer a group crossing land, but a procession moving through design. At a junction ahead, the riders slow slightly, not stopping, just adjusting direction. A subtle turn to the left, then forward again. There is no hesitation in the movement, only recognition, as if this path is already known by everyone except you. You follow without breaking rhythm. The air here feels different again. Less wind, more stillness. A stillness that is not empty, but held, like the space is waiting without urgency. You pass beneath a heavier archway. The stone above it is darker, more worn, as if countless others have passed beneath it before you. And something shifts in you as you cross under it. Not physically, not suddenly, just a quiet internal awareness that you are now deeper than before. And still, no destination is visible, only continuation, only structure, only the sense that everything ahead is already arranged, waiting to be reached. The deeper you move, the more the structure begins to feel less like architecture, and more like something that is aware of your passage through it. Not alive in a way you can define, but responsive in a way you can feel. The corridor ahead widens slightly, not abruptly, but like a breath being taken by the space itself. The riders adjust without breaking formation, still silent, still unified, but the energy between them is no longer only forward motion. It is observation now, attention distributed in all directions at once. You notice it too, subtle changes in the environment that were not present before. A faint shift in light from the right side, a deeper shadow forming along the left wall. The sense that the structure is no longer just guiding you, but acknowledging you. The sound of movement continues, but even that begins to feel restrained here, less open, more contained within the geometry of the place. Then, for the first time since entering, you see something that does not belong to the pattern of empty passage. Ahead, partially framed by stone and shadow, a figure, still, not moving, positioned at the edge of a wider chamber where the corridor opens. You cannot see details clearly yet, only form, presence, enough to break the continuity of emptiness that has existed until now. The riders do not react outwardly, but the formation tightens again, almost imperceptibly, not in fear, but in alignment, as if this moment was expected at some level that no one needed to discuss. You continue forward, step by step. The figure remains in place, not approaching, not retreating, simply there. And as you close the distance, the space itself seems to slow around it. The corridor no longer feels like a path. It feels like an approach toward recognition. Everything narrows into that single point ahead. Presence versus passage. And still, no one speaks. No one breaks formation. But something has clearly begun. Not conflict. Not greeting. Something before both. You keep moving forward, but now every step feels like it has a witness. Not just the figure ahead, but the space itself. The chamber opens wider as you enter it, ceiling higher than the corridors before, walls curving outward in a controlled geometry that feels deliberate rather than architectural improvisation. The formation behind you compresses slightly again as everyone enters the same space. No one spreads out here. The environment does not allow it. The figure remains still at the far side of the chamber, now clearer, not close enough for full detail, but close enough for certainty. It is not blocking the path. It is standing within it, as if the path has always included this moment. The sound of hooves becomes softer here, not because it disappears, but because the chamber absorbs it differently. The echoes return slower, heavier, measured. You feel it now more clearly than before. This place does not simply contain movement. It responds to it. The riders slow almost imperceptibly, not stopping, but transitioning from movement into presence. The space between you and the figure shortens gradually. Each step feels more defined than the last, not because of effort, but because attention has become denser. The figure does not move, but something about its stillness is active, not passive waiting, but controlled awareness, like it is holding the moment in place just as much as you are entering it. The chamber's lighting shifts slightly as you advance. Shadows no longer behave uniformly. They gather more tightly around structural lines, leaving the center clearer, directed. You are no longer simply approaching something. You are being positioned toward it. The formation behind you stabilizes again, fully inside the chamber now, fully contained within this space of stillness. No one breaks formation, no one speaks, but the entire group shares the same forward focus. And now, the distance is short enough that the figure's outline is no longer abstract. It is human in shape, still unmoving, still facing forward, waiting at the exact point where movement becomes encounter. And everything narrows into that final approach. The distance closes slowly now, not because it is far, but because the space itself seems to resist rushing. Each step forward feels separated from the next, as if time is being slightly stretched inside the chamber. The figure ahead remains still, but no longer abstract. Details begin to emerge. A cloak-like shape, armor beneath it, posture steady, grounded, not aggressive, not defensive, just present. The riders around you maintain formation, but the energy has fully shifted now. This is no longer travel, no longer passage. It is arrival at a point that has been waiting longer than the journey itself. The sound of movement is almost gone here, not erased, but absorbed. Even breathing feels quieter, more contained within the space. The chamber feels larger and smaller at the same time. Larger in structure, smaller in focus, because everything in it now is drawn toward a single point. The figure. You notice something subtle as you move closer. It is not reacting to your approach in a visible way, but the atmosphere around it feels stable in a different sense, like it is anchoring the space rather than occupying it. The riders slow almost completely now, still moving, but only just enough to maintain presence. No one steps ahead of the formation. No one breaks alignment. You are close enough now that the figure's outline is clear, still facing forward, still unmoving, and yet there is a sense that it is fully aware of every step taken toward it. The final stretch of distance feels thinner, not physically shorter, but more concentrated. Every step carries more meaning than motion. The chamber behind you feels distant already, even though you are still inside it. Everything now exists between you and this single point of stillness ahead. And as you reach the edge of direct proximity, the movement does not end, but it transforms into something that is no longer just movement. It becomes encounter. You are close enough now that distance stops feeling like space and starts feeling like meaning. The final steps are no longer about reaching. They are about entering something that already includes you. The figure remains still, but the stillness is no longer empty. It holds weight, presence, intent without movement. Now you can see more clearly. The armor is not ceremonial. It is functional, worn, used, not decorative power, but lived experience. The posture is calm, but not relaxed, balanced in a way that suggests awareness is constant, not activated. As you approach, the riders behind you slow to a near stop. The formation does not break, but it no longer advances as a single motion. It becomes a held shape inside the chamber. Waiting. The air here feels different again. Not colder, not warmer, but denser in attention, like the space itself has narrowed into focus. You take another step, then another, and the distance between you and the figure becomes almost negligible. Close enough that silence feels shared rather than surrounding. The figure does not turn yet, but something in its presence shifts. Not movement, recognition, as if your arrival was not unknown, only delayed. The chamber behind you fades in importance. Walls, riders, echoes, all of it becomes background to this point. This single alignment between presence and arrival. And then, the smallest change. The figure adjusts slightly, not fully turning, just enough for acknowledgement to begin. Not as greeting, not as threat, but as confirmation that the moment has arrived at its intended point. Everything becomes still in a different way now. Not absence of motion, but completion of approach. And for the first time since the journey began, there is no forward left in the same sense anymore. Only what happens next.